Hello, David. Delighted to be chatting with you. Myself and Steve Evans here.
Yeah, good
Hi,
to
David.
see
Good
you.
good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Yeah, and you. Yeah. So
you two have met,
brilliant
haven't you?
stuff. So
Yeah, we met a couple of times.
A few times at a couple of talks that you've done with Gina Kirkham and Luca Veste, who are both related. And if I'm not mistaken, I was going to ask you how life was in the Wirral, but you're just down the road from me now, and you live next door, don't you, to one of our fellow authors?
Not quite.
Almost next
so,
door.
Just to make it clear, I'm not related to Luca and Gina, but they are related to each other.
Yeah.
So Luca lives over in Wallasey Way, and Gina lives on the same road as me, just a few doors down.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember. I knew you weren't next door neighbours, but yes, stone's throw away, if you like.
Yeah, not far away at all.
That was the strange one, because you didn't find that out, did you, until you met over a chat, was it, on an author's chat or something?
I don't know how it came up, to be honest. I mean, I'd known Gina, just bumping into her and her husband John. Quite a lot. He's always out walking the dog, you know. But I can't remember. I think it must have been at one of Luca's events when that came up that I came to realise that the two were related. Gina being Luca's auntie. Yeah. So yeah.
Small world, isn't it? Really, really small world. Yeah.
It is. It is.
David, before we start talking about your prolific back catalogue, can you tell us what you do outside of writing? You got any hobbies?
Not a lot at the moment, because I've had two jobs for many years. I've had two jobs, and I haven't really had time for hobbies. The day job, I was an academic. I was a senior lecturer at Liverpool University. So then I'd come home and I'd have my tea and see the kids and so on, and then I put my writing hat on and be writing all evening. Yeah. So you know, juggling the two jobs, I didn't really have time to develop any hobbies, to be honest.
Hands full.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed a little bit now, because I gave up the day job a couple of years ago during the pandemic. So I've got a bit more free time now. When I say that, I'm trying to do more writing, to be honest. I'm trying to get more done. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what happens over time.
Okay. Was it computer science that you were teaching?
It was, yeah. Funny enough, people always think that because you're a writer, they always think that you come from a writing background, or at least an arts background.
English,
Yeah, they always think I've done English or maybe history or something like that. So they're always a bit surprised when I tell them I'm a scientist, a computer scientist. Because I don't think there are many of us who go into writing crime and thrillers, from a hard science background like that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And Terry, you came up with a question the other day. We were talking about computers and authors, and it was a bit of a funny one. It was, do you think computers are able to write novels yet?
Artificial intelligence.
Not yet.
Artificial intelligence and all that.
Yeah. I mean, I actually did work in artificial intelligence. It wasn't to do with writing novels, and they can do a lot of clever things, but I think they're a long way off from writing novels. They can generate poetry and things like, well, what looks like poetry. There's not a lot of intelligence behind it, and it's often obtained by just putting random words and phrases together. So it looks a bit arty, but I don't think there's much, clever thought behind it all.
Yeah. Well, I've been dabbling in quite a lot of your books today. It's been in and out. And what I found is that, well, one thing a computer certainly can't do is sort of the minutiae of real life. Like I'm reading, I don't know, The Resident, for instance, and you got this guy, this Gollum type of character, schizophrenic, in the attic, looking down. And there's Elsie, the pensioner downstairs, we're looking for a hearing aid. There's little tiny details like that I think you get absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I think I've always felt it's really important to bring in little tiny details like that. I think it really helps to flesh out your characters. I've always thought the character is king, really, in a book. You can have a really clever plot, but if you're not invested in the characters, then you don't really care what happens to them. So to me, I always try to put as much effort as I can into making the characters seem real, and like the person next door, you might flesh them out a little bit.
that's what jumped out at me, the authenticity of the characters.
Okay, well, that's good. That's a job done then, I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you start out as a writer? Because I think you say in one of your biographies that you came into this late, and you were obviously doing your university stuff before that. So what made you turn to writing? And
well, I was kind of a writer anyway, but I was writing academic stuff. So I was writing, journal papers and conference papers and very scientific papers. But the problem with that is, as far as I was concerned, that it's very, you have to be very detached and objective, and it's very dry. And I was finding myself constantly tempted to be a bit more expressive and a bit more kind of colourful in my language, if you like. I was always getting told off by PhD supervisor for doing that, for being too expressive. And so there's clearly, and I wanted an outlet there. And I didn't realize it until quite later on. And I thought, well, I'll have a go at the more creative type of writing. And had a go at just short stories to begin with. I wrote a couple of short stories and I submitted them to magazines and competitions and things like that. And I started getting fairly good feedback. I didn't win anything, but I was getting shortlisted and coming in the top few of whatever competition it was. And that just gave me a bit of encouragement to have a go at something a bit bigger, a bit grander. And that's when I had a go at a novel, which eventually became Pariah. And the reason that got somewhere was because I entered it again for a competition. I entered it for the debut Dagger Awards, which are run by the Crime Writers Association. And I didn't think I'd get anywhere, but in fact, it was shortlisted. We got invited to a fancy dinner down in Mayfair, and then it was highly commended. Kind of second place, if you like. And that's when I started to get a bit more interest from publishers and agents and people like that. So I would always say, it's well worth it. If you're a new writer, it's well worth entering competitions and submitting stuff to magazines and all that kind of thing, just to see if you are any good, really.
That's the trouble, I think, with new writers. I think they give it to their best friends, they give it to their wives, their mothers, and they're always going to tell them, oh, it's brilliant, that. But you need some, I don't know, an outside pair of eyes, don't you, to look at the work, to know that, to understand that there is quality there.
Yeah, I mean, anyone is never going to tell you that your baby's ugly. You need a more objective viewpoint, really. You need to go to professionals. You need to go to people who are reading this stuff all the time. They know what's good, what's bad. They know what to look for, and they'll give you honest feedback. And sometimes, it can hurt to get that honest feedback. But I think to develop as a writer, you can't do without it, to be honest.
Yeah. David, we mentioned before about the authenticity of your writing. Yeah. I've looked today. There's a couple of YouTube videos of yourself in an attic, going back to the novel The Resident. It looks as though you've done your research on that. Do you know what I liked about it in particular? It brought home something. One of my friends about 40 years ago, as a child, he moved into a new house, a new row of terraced houses. Christmas time, they moved into this place, and he went into the attic, and he found a load of Christmas presents dotted all the way along up in this attic space. But he didn't realise that it was all open. The builders hadn't completed it. He thought they were all for him. They're all the neighbours' toys upstairs in the attic.
Oh, right, yeah. It's actually very common. I only found this out once I'd written the book, and people kept writing to me and saying, well, our house is like that. If you go up into our loft, you can actually get through to the neighbours' lofts.
Scary.
It is, and it's really common. And one of the Resident was serialized on a thing called Pigeonhole, and one of the women who was reading the book at the time contacted me and said this had happened to her. That she would come home and she'd find that her television was on a different station from the one she'd left it on. A channel she never ever watched, but it was always left on that channel. And it was only later on that she found out that the next door neighbour was coming in through the loft, watching it, sitting on a sofa, watching her telly, eating her crisps, and then just disappearing again.
And doing what else?
Using her electric as well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's freaky. That freaks you out, doesn't it?
Just a bit, yeah.
Well, that's quite scary, isn't it? Yeah. So you've got a family, and you still write books. How do you balance that work time and your writing time? I mean, you're not so much in the university at the minute, but
Yeah,
It's
that
a
has
tough one.
helped. I mean, as I said before, it was always a bit of a struggle to try keep everything going, and I think that I think it was wearing me out eventually. Something had to give, and it was either like reduce the writing or give up the day job. I suppose I could have carried on doing both, but I just needed some more time with the family and just to be able to do the things I like to do outside of writing. Go to the pictures, go and see a movie, go out for a nice meal, just things like that. Have more holidays. So yeah, it's a bit easier now, and the girls are grown up as well, so that makes life easier. I don't need to be at their beck and call so much as I used to be, although they still have their needs and wants now and again.
It looks like you've averaged a novel a year, haven't you, since going back to 2011? Yeah. Is that what you aim for? Is it one a year?
Yeah, I have been. I mean, that's always what I've been contracted to do. Generally when you get a book published, they'll normally offer you a contract for 2 or 3 books, and they normally expect them to be done on an annual basis. So yeah, I have averaged 1 a year. I'm hoping now, as I say, that I can be a bit more productive and maybe up that, not necessarily 2 a year, but maybe 2 every 18 months or something like that, just to get a bit more writing done. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah. How did you? You've been with the same publisher all along, so
No.
You're with Pan Macmillan.
No, not anymore. I was with Pan
Macmillan
for the New York novels to begin with, and then I was with Bonnier. That was for the Liverpool series, and I'm now with Viper for the standalones.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I think he'd switched. He's had about 3 or 4 publishers as well, hadn't he? So I mean, it's very common now. Yeah, it's very common.
Yeah. Just talking about New York, there. Did you think you went into that? That was quite brave to go out and look at writing books based around New York when you're from Liverpool. You must have had to do some research for that, quite in-depth research, and yet you were living in Liverpool. Did you struggle with that, or did you just find that's what you wanted to do?
It was just what I wanted. It's just New York was a city I'd always been fascinated by. There's always a place that you think, oh, I'd love to go there, and I'd love to know more about it. And I think it just dates back from when I was a kid, really. And you read the Batman comics, and Gotham City was really just a fictionalized New York, wasn't it?
No.
And it was just all those the towers like the Empire State Building and places like that just seemed magical to me. They just seemed incredible places. And when I finally got to go there, I mean, it is such a great city. I've been there a couple of times now, but I'd kind of soaked up through a lot of reading and watching television. I used to watch everything set in New York. I read lots of books set in New York and kind of absorbed stuff that way. And in some ways it can be difficult, but in other ways it can be an advantage to be an outsider as well. You kind of look at a place in a different way from someone who actually lives there. I think you have a different slant on describing a place. So I didn't really find it too difficult. And people seem to think it was authentic. Readers would often be really surprised when they found out I wasn't from New York, which is kind of that was encouragement in itself, really.
David, what just struck me as surprising me, actually, looking behind with Steve's background, the Batman was actually filmed on that lava building recently, over the last year or so.
And didn't they use St George's Hall as well? Yeah. I mean, Liverpool's a great city for film location.
It can be anywhere, can't it, in the world? Russia, Moscow, New York. Yeah,
they've used it for all kinds, of Washington, and it's such an amazing place. And I tried to get that across in the books as well. And in the Liverpool series, I tried to get across how fabulous a city Liverpool really is.
Yeah. Dave, on that same sort of subject, have you been approached by any film or television companies for any of your back catalogue for that to be go onto the big screen?
So I've got I did get a film and TV agent a year. What was it? Well, when The Resident came out, it was a weird, surreal phone call I had between me, someone in Los Angeles, and someone in New York. It was like a 3-way discussion between me and these film and television agents. So they got interested at that stage because I think it is such a sellable idea. As far as I know, they've had no success, or they haven't come back to me and told me they've managed to sell it yet. But you never know. It's one of those things that there's no point putting too much, faith into it. Sometimes it happens, but more than often it doesn't.
Yeah. It'd be brilliant if it did.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would be really good. But we'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a great catalogue, fantastic back catalogue of novels, but can we focus on the one you've got coming out now? Is it No Secrets? No Secrets. It's launched in July. Is that right?
Yeah,
you got that.
It's on your background there. I was going to hold a copy up, but that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah. So, without giving anything away, what's it all about? Terry probably has read a little bit of it already, no doubt.
Yeah. Okay. So it's you know how you can sometimes, I mean, if you've got a partner or you're close to someone, you can often tell when they're happy, or they haven't got to say a word, but when they're happy, when they're sad, when there's something on their mind, and they don't have to tell you this. You can just kind of read them. And so No Secrets is about a woman who can do that, but she has a more heightened ability. It's kind of her gift is that she can read the emotions of people around her, people she knows, not just random strangers, but she can read the emotions of people she knows quite well.
An empath.
An empath is the word. Yeah. But as a side effect of this gift that she's got, she also knows when they're telling lies. So if they lie to her, she knows instantly that they're lying. And the story, the premise of this particular novel is that she's watching the telly one day and she sees the caretaker from her old school, and he's talking about a girl that's gone missing, and he's describing how he witnessed someone, how he witnessed her getting into somebody's car and driving off. Because she knows him and got to know him quite well at school, she knows instantly that he's not telling the truth, he's lying. And of course, she's the only person alive who knows this. And so the novel takes off from there, with her trying to persuade other people or convince other people that this guy knows more than he's telling. And it becomes a kind of cat and mouse story between the two of them.
That sounds brilliant.
Good.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. So is that a standalone book, or is it going to be part of a trilogy or whatever?
It's written as a standalone.
Yeah.
But I think that the main character, Izzy Lambert, is such a great character that you never know where these things might lead.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
But at the moment, I'm concentrating on standalones. Yeah.
Yeah. So that book's ready to launch. So you're obviously writing some more stuff now.
Yeah. So No Secrets comes out in just over a week. 7th of July, it comes out, and I'm busy writing the next one. We're supposed to have a July deadline for the next one. It's going to be
July.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sight.
You're nowhere near that then.
I'm not too far. Well, it's probably going to be more towards the end of July than the beginning of July. Put it that way.
Well, it's still July.
Hopefully, yeah. I've got to fit a holiday in there as well somewhere, so we'll see how it goes.
Yep. It might be tight.
It could be tight, yeah. I have a very understanding editor, so
that's good. So, David, the No Secrets, that's available now, isn't it, for pre-order?
You can certainly pre-order, yeah. The more pre-orders, the better. If anyone out there is willing to, put an order in, that'd be very kind of you.
What happens on a publication day? Are you got a large promotion? You're going to go away and have a party? You're going to have some kind of ceremony?
So I'm actually away. So when I'm on holiday is on publication day. So I'll be celebrating somewhere. No doubt be having a few drinks and a nice meal somewhere. But I think the publishers will be asking me to do things as well. They'll be doing most of the heavy lifting, to be honest. But I need to prepare a few things for them. I'll probably do a little video and answer some questions that they send out in a newsletter and that kind of thing.
So you're not going to go down the traditional book launching like the Waterstones or whatever, or that was never on the cards? No,
not for this. Not for the hardback. Maybe maybe later on. So I've been talking to Waterstones and other places about maybe doing stuff September, October, somewhere around there. The problem with July is obviously a lot of people go away, and it's it can be difficult to arrange these things. And a lot of other books come out at that time as well. All the July summer bestsellers come out then, so there's a lot of competition as well. But yeah, maybe later on in the year we might do something.
David, can I ask you about the format of your books? You've got the hardback, paperback, audio book. You've also got a lot of translated books, haven't you? Which is the most popular country for your book sales? Europe, or on the translated versions?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we occasionally get sales figures sent through, and they don't make a lot of sense to me. It's just like huge tables of numbers, I don't really know what they all mean. So I'm not really sure how well it sells abroad. I mean, it can be a great source of income. You can get some really good deals from certain countries. There's a huge appetite for crime in places like Germany, for example. They love their crime thrillers.
Can I ask you how it translates something like the I don't know, some of the Scouse phrases, colloquialisms?
Yeah, again,
would you know if that is translated or how it's translated?
I wouldn't. I have to just trust the translators to get it right. I think it's a dark art as far as I'm concerned. I really don't know how they do it. I've got books on my shelf there from Thailand and all kinds of places. And there's no way I'm ever going to be able to translate what they've said there. And I really don't know how they deal with Scouse, kind of dialect and slang. I mean,
do one knobhead. I'll just translate.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's a tricky one.
They could say absolutely anything. You wouldn't know, really, would you?
No, I wouldn't. I know. I couldn't be saying anything. Hope they don't translate it too literally, Doorknob skull or something.
If I remember, David, don't you do some creative writing courses as well? That sort of field. So tell us a little bit about that.
I've done a few workshops and seminars in the libraries, and we had like a literary festival thing called Perfect Crime that Margaret Murphy was running a few months back, and I did a workshop there as well. So that was good fun. So yeah, and I'm hoping now we're over COVID that I can start those up again, because there was quite a good appetite for them. Quite a lot of people are interested in writing and would like to know how to do various things. So yeah, that's one of my plans for the future. Now I've got a bit more time.
Yeah, and I think you said at the time when I last saw you in West Kirby, I think it was, that was one of your recommendations to people who are new writers to go along to one of those creative writing courses. Oh, I don't know whether you're pushing your own course or whether that was a genuine recommendation, but I suspect it is.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're born knowing how to write. I think you can learn a lot just from reading books and seeing how other people do things, but I don't think there's any harm in trying to learn from people who've already got over all the obstacles that there are to getting published. I think I certainly learned a lot when I was starting out by going to festivals and writing conferences and workshops and all that kind of thing. So it's certainly, I would recommend it personally. A lot of people say, well, you can't learn anything from creative writing workshops, but I disagree. I think, we can all learn from people who've gone before us.
I agree. Yeah. Sorry, Terry, go on.
I think it's like football. I know people said about David Beckham, the more he practiced, the luckier he got with taking free kicks. It's a matter of doing it, isn't it? And expanding it and carrying on with it.
Yeah, and I think it's also being willing to take feedback as well and criticism. And not just saying I'm right and you're wrong, and this is what I've written, and you're not going to make any changes. I think you have to be quite flexible, and you have to be willing to learn from people who've done all this before. Sometimes that's a hard lesson to learn, but I think you have to be like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you were probably fairly lucky in some respects. You got a publisher very early on, or did you struggle? Did you go down the self-publishing route with any stuff early doors, or was it that lucky because you had the debut Dagger Awards and that quite early on as well, didn't you?
That certainly helped. I think that certainly provoked some interest from people in the industry. I think we all have our strokes of luck, and I think luck plays a huge part in this business. There are some really good writers who just never get that stroke of luck and never get the bestsellers. And on the other hand, there are people who seem to get lots of luck who aren't that great, to be honest. But I've just had that stroke of luck that's pushed them out there, and people have started reading their books. So luck is always a huge element in this. I did self-publish one of my books. So when I was finishing with Pan Macmillan, I'd already written the 4th book in that series, which was Crybaby. And we didn't know what to do with it because, I severed the relationship with Pan Macmillan. And it was just a question of, well, I've got this book, what should we do with it? So I talked it over with my agents, and we decided just to publish it on Amazon, kind of self-published really. And funnily enough, that sold more copies than any of my other books. And that really took off. So the struggle there was that what that meant was that when I was looking for my next contract, they looked at the sales of Crybaby, and everyone was keen to take me on then. And we had a 5-way auction, a kind of bidding war of publishers trying to take me on. So yeah, you have good luck and you have bad luck sometimes. It has ups and downs every year, Yeah.
You got a write-up from The Guardian as well, didn't you, over one particular article? Oh, go on, you recollect it for us. Go on.
It's something like, I'd have to look back, something like, recalls Harlan Coben.
Oh yeah.
For my money, Jackson is the better writer.
That's it.
That's
what an accolade, eh?
Yeah.
That's my favourite quote of all time. That was The Guardian. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, really good.
I've noticed some other quotes that are on there now with a guy with Tim Logan.
Oh yeah,
he's
Tim
put
Logan,
on there.
yeah.
We chatted to him on Saturday.
Oh yeah. He's a nice guy, Tim. Really nice guy.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, he's with Bonnier, so I got to know him quite well when I was at Bonnier.
Yeah.
And he sells millions of books. I mean, he sells far more than I ever do. But he's such a great writer.
I've just read The Holiday by him, and it's been made into a television series.
Yeah. Again, I think if a book does well, then quite often television and film companies become interested and option your book and may even produce it. So he's had all the breaks. He's done really well.
Good.
What advice would you generally give to new writers?
I'd probably say if you're just starting out, pick something write about something you're passionate about, and it can be anything, whatever you personally are passionate about. Try to get that into your novel, because I think that will come across on the page, and it can be anything, and it doesn't mean it has to be a story based on that, but I think if you can work that passion into your writing somehow by maybe having one character who feels the same way about that subject, then I think that can really help your writing to shine. And I would also say, as on a more practical level, work on your pitch as well, because at some point you're going to have to sell your ideas. You're going to have to sell it to an agent or a publisher, and ultimately you're trying to sell your book to readers. So work on a pitch, which is like a short 1 or 2 sentence description of what the book's all about. And the shorter and catchier that pitch is, the easier it is to sell your book and your idea. Like you talked about The Resident before. So the pitch for The Resident, when I wrote that, was, there's a serial killer on the loose. You don't know he's living in your attic.
Oh, brilliant.
So,
that's scary.
That's scary. That'll scare Terry, that.
Will.
It's very short, very concise, where it says everything about what the book is about. Yeah. And it really grips you as well, I think.
I'd buy that.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it does sound
that's the
really
idea.
hard hitting, doesn't it? We've heard a couple of pitches from different authors, but that's probably the sharpest and shortest one I've heard.
It tells you everything.
Actually, it gripped me. Actually, does it? It said it all, didn't it?
Yeah, I hope so. That was the idea, and I think so that would be my tip to new writers: if you can come up with something like that, that encapsulates your book in a couple of sentences like that, then that will really make a huge difference.
That's brilliant advice, I think.
Okay, good.
Yeah. David, our time's run out, but it's been an absolute delight chatting with you.
I've
Really
loved it.
appreciate your time.
Great. Thanks you so much for inviting me on. It's been fab.
Maybe another one.
Thanks a lot, David. Yeah, good to see you again. Yeah.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Maybe another chat with the next novel, the next release after July.
Absolutely. yeah. Well, it won't come on until next July.
I know.
anytime. Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Thanks for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, for now. Cheers, David. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. See you again soon. Take care.
Yeah, excellent.